Hello and welcome to another uncertified episode of Certified Forgotten. We are usually your horror podcast about movies with 10 or less critic reviews of Rotten Tomatoes. But if you've noticed, we've done some uncertified episodes recently just to kind of catch up with life. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you move across the country, or you're like me and you just go on a travel spree. And we're still recovering from both of that, me and your other co-host, Matt Monagle. With that said, I want to take the opportunity to do another uncertified and kind of save some time. But in doing so, listen, I saw Weapons already, and a few of my other friends did see Weapons already too, so we want to get a first reaction out there. The embargo broke, so we can actually have a spoiler-free discussion. It doesn't have to be social media sentiment anymore, so in doing that, we have another brilliant co-host. I am very lucky to have many friends in the industry who are the best, so when I just need a co-host, I go, hey, when are you the best in the industry? I want you to come on here, and in doing so, I am bringing one of my good friends. You have heard her voice, seen her face all over. I'm sure you probably know her most as the host of Collider Ladies Night, Miss Perry Nemerov. Perry, thank you for coming and talking weapons.
The nicest introduction ever. That made me really happy.
Well, you always do such a good job when we do our live stream that we can plug.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
You do good work. You should plug it.
I was just going to say, every Friday that we have our live stream, but we're kind of up in the air with that too.
Friday, Saturday, sometimes on Monday if we're busy all weekend.
Yeah, we'll plug our socials later, but Perry and I dig into the entertainment talk of the week. And, I think we have some fun conversations. We got a good little community. It's called the Merry Hour. And I mean, listen, we're going to talk about Weapons there tomorrow. So if you want to see more weaponsy things and you're listening to this podcast the minute it comes out, look for me and Perry talking in person. You can join the chat and you can yell at us. It's great.
Or you could just give a super chat, or you can ask us to talk about football, anything but yell at us, basically.
And if you're listening to this episode after that, the video will be online forever. So, go hit us up after that. But anyway, we're wasting a lot of time here. I'm sorry. I'm just jabbering on. Perry, we had pretty crazy weekends before we get to weapons. Do you want to tell the people what you did at Comic-Con?
I still feel like a shell of myself. Comic-Con was a lot this year. It was a lot, though. I think in the end, I will have moderated 5 panels. We did 2 Collider Ladies Night panels, one of which is Collider Ladies Night After Dark. I know you said plugs at the end, but you could watch that in full on the Collider Ladies Night YouTube channel right now. I did the panels for Rick and Morty Season 8, Twisted Metal Season 2, and The Strangers Chapter 2. And then on top of that, I think I did maybe 18 interviews total for Collider. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Every year, you and Amelia and all these people are like, oh my God, come to Comic-Con. It'd be so much fun. And I hear about all the work you do, and I have no desire. Zero. I don't have that energy in me for a non-festival scenario.
I will tell you, though, that last night party, it's just it's one of my favorite party feelings in the world to know you worked your butt off for 3 days straight, you did a good job, and then all of a sudden you get to go out, take a breath, and fill your body with Prosecco.
I would be filling mine with other things, but to each their own when it comes to beverages. Like this week, I filled my body with White Claw and beatboxes at my first Warped Tour. I've never been to the Warped Tour. I am, I'm a punk rock, metal, all those genres that end up at Warped Tour. Even Young Gravy. I'm a Young Gravy fan. I get my hip hop in there. So I just had a goddamn blast for 2 days listening to so many bands and running around I didn't know how my knees would hold up. I didn't know how my body would hold up as a 36-year-old at a Warped Tour music festival. But I think it only took 2 days to recover. And I saw about 8 to 9 bands each day. And I'm locked and loaded. I'm going back next year. I'm going back until the wheels fall off.
I already heard that next year crosses over with Comic-Con again, doesn't it?
Oh, no. What a terrible thing.
Very funny. What's the best band you saw?
God, that was such a toss-up. I mean, the Wonder Years for me is just a personal favorite, so it's hard to get away from that. I got to see Enter Shikari for the first time, so that was, again, a personal for me. Slaughter to Prevail, just beat you in the face metal. That was so good. Better Lovers, same kind of thing. Super Mosh, Super Shred. So those were my big ones. All the throwbacks were there. Hawthorne Heights was there, but unfortunately I missed that. Dropkick Murphys, just calling out Trump and telling him to eat shit and doing so much good stuff. Really love Dropkick. So yeah, it was a very fulfilling festival. And you discover new bands too. That's what I love about it too. I saw people complaining online about the lineup at points, and I was like, it's like when we go to a film festival, that 11 a.m. slot. It's never
Mhm.
going to be the next Blumhouse release or the next XYZ mainstream release. You find something and you take a gamble on it. So I tried to do that as much as possible, and I found so much stuff that I'm listening to right now, like The Paradox. So all of that to say, I'm still quite tired. I know I said I recovered, but
Mm.
I'm still pretty tired. But we have a movie to talk about.
That
Let's
we
get to the
do.
title topic here. And we both saw Weapons for the junket. So we both not only saw Weapons, but we got to talk to the cast, have some great interviews. And I said this before, but Josh Brolin, just the best. Like one of my favorite interviews. And I only had 4 minutes with him. He's just so gracious. And he kept putting everything on Zach
Hmm.
in a good way. I don't want to say that like he kept blaming him for anything, but every time I asked a question to Brolin and it was just me and him one on one, he immediately was like, "Yeah," but it would end up talking about how that question would get to Zach Kreger and his answer about just heaping praise upon Zach Kreger and being like,
Mhm.
"I couldn't believe how much of a veteran he felt like." So yeah, it was really cool to hear that from Brolin.
He's so soulful is how I would describe his answers. Like every single thing came from the heart, and I feel like you could tell how much he cares about this movie, how proud of it he is, and we'll get to it, but he should be.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start very easily with quick first reactions, and you are our guest, so
Hmm.
I would like to know, how do you feel about Weapons? I know already because I read your social reactions, but
Yeah.
this is full review now. So how do you feel? Give me a little.
Full review, but I'll warn everybody listening, I'm gonna be a real weirdo talking about this one because I am terrified of spoiling anything about this experience. I was even hesitant to post my reaction the way that I did because I don't want to give away like a certain type of build the movie has, but I don't know, I think I tiptoed around it well enough. But I think one of maybe the more unusual things about where I'm coming from on Weapons is that I seem to be one of very, very few who did not really like Barbarian. I loved Act One of Barbarian. If that was the whole movie, I was going to be real happy. I do think there's great story ideas in part two and part three, but the movie didn't really flow well enough for the whole thing to come together and feel cohesive enough. I know I am in the minority. That is just my opinion. So when I walked into this one, and especially when I realized the story was told in chapters, I'm like, oh, like, is this going to be Barbarian for me all over again? And it was kind of the exact opposite. I thought the chapter storytelling was kind of brilliantly done to the point of feeling utterly seamless. And the there was purpose, like great purpose to splitting the story the way that he did. I was just so incredibly wowed by the structure and how well he executed it.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was Chris Evangelista in his first reaction. He brought in Pulp Fiction. He brought in the Coen Brothers in the way that the movie is told. Obviously, it is not akin with those styles. Let's say I don't think Tarantino's really made a hardcore horror movie yet, or any of
Mhm.
that. But like you said, the chapter storytelling, the way it focuses on characters, and the same events might be happening, but we're seeing them from different perspectives, and we're getting different opinions on them from the viewpoint of said character in that chapter, and it worked for me as well. I really did like Barbarian. So to counter what you said, like where
Mhm.
I'm coming from, I really enjoyed Barbarian. I think I gave it a 8 out of 10 for IGN, and I was, there's always a little bit of the sophomore slump happening with filmmakers, and you worry a little bit, but I don't think that happens here. I will say I like Barbarian just a smidge more than Weapons, and we can get into that later. But
Mhm.
it's just again one of those twisted rides. I too struggled to talk about it in my social reaction because I was like, what the fuck do I say? What don't I? So I barely said anything. I think that was my social reaction. Go in blind if you can.
Mhm.
Like if you haven't seen a trailer yet, if you haven't been privy to anything, I think Weapons really benefits from not knowing where it even starts as much as finishes. And I think the payoff is one of my favorite payoffs I've seen in so very long, which we won't
It
talk about,
might be one of
obviously.
my payoffs ever, like, of
Yeah,
all time.
which is high goddamn praise. I really want to throw that there. And again, which will we this is spoiler free. We're not
Yeah.
going to get into that.
You saw my face after, though.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I did.
I had tears streaming down my face.
I wouldn't even say which tears. I'm not even going to spoil that. Like
Fine.
it could be tears of laughter. It could be
I don't know.
tears of
You gotta wait
joy,
and find out.
fear, terror, all those things. We just know Perry Nemiroff had tears. That
Yes.
is the biggest mystery of Weapons is what was Perry crying at. But no, I think like to start things off and to talk about a filmmaker in Kreger who already surprised the hell out of us and like came out the gate firing, saying, I'm not really going to play by certain rules that a lot of other horror filmmakers are right now. It was always going to be a hard act to follow up. And I think he has found a way in doing so in this film that is both, I think it is a better story overall, even though I like Barbarian's execution more. But there's just more oomph to this. Zach Kreger said this is coming from a more emotional place, and he brings up, if you know the Whitest Kids, obviously he brings up the fact that like the sudden loss of a friend brought this story out of him,
Mhm.
and it's really like a suburban folktale. I like that element of it. I like the way that this is kind of like a middle America lore kind of horror story, and where it goes, it goes where it goes. But it all starts with missing children, and like that's in the trailer. I'm okay saying that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we know the children missing, and to weave that all together in a way that still shocks me in the same way that Barbarian shocked me at the end. I think that's the real magic trick of this movie, because
Mhm.
there's a little bit in the middle I was coming in and out on. I think there's a little bit of sag in the midsection for me, and that was my big takeaway of where I like Barbarian a little more. The momentum I think is just a little more solid, but it's still really great character work, and I can't deny that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the character work serves the horror of the situation so incredibly well. Going back to what I was saying about having the story structure serve a real purpose, I think part of the reason why what this all winds up being is so incredibly shocking and impactful is because we saw so many different perspectives try to solve the mystery. And I think seeing it from so many vantage points, hey, it makes it feel so much more unsettling, inescapable, and then I guess threatening as the movie builds to that big finish. And I just thought it was so incredibly well done. And some of these performances are, I mean, not that I'm surprised. All of these people I've seen do well in many, many films and shows, but I thought Julia Garner really ran away with her role. And the other thing, and bringing up her character is making me think of this, but I do think it applies to a lot of the characters here. Another reason why I think he's so successful at making things feel so believable and grounded is because all of these characters are so incredibly complex. Like nothing in this movie is straightforward. You are very well aware of what would compel them to want to solve the mystery, but also why they would be hesitant to take certain steps, certain ways, why they wind up in certain positions. This movie is so damn hard to talk about right now. I'm trying so hard to dance around certain character facts, but I thought Julia Garner was exceptional. I loved the fact that I felt the weight of Josh Brolin being a parent in this situation. He sold that incredibly well. The one that surprised me the most, mainly because I thought he was so unrecognizable for such a good chunk of the movie, was Austin Abrams, who I've seen in many things at this point. But he really loses himself. Kreger told me that he was method on this set, and I'm like, no wonder, because I did not see the Austin Abrams I've seen in however many films and shows before. I really thought he ran away with his section.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have Alden Ehrenreich doing a cop bit, and you have. I mean, we've said, but you mentioned Brolin. I think Brolin as the parent who's trying to
Hmm.
figure things out and solve clues is such a. That was so when I asked him, that was his big takeaway, where he's like, I am terrified of things happening to my children, so I've never tried to play a role like this, but he's like, I had to. It's like I had to finally like conquer that fear, but also I read the script, and it was the one calling to me. So he really brings a lot of that. It's inherent in his character,
Mhm.
but it's also his reality, and it's so easy for him to just go into that mode of being
Mhm.
so angry and afraid and all that stuff. And I think he probably stands out from the most. Julia Gardner too. I mean, I think the main trio that we really get of Alden, Julia Gardner, and Brolin is rock solid and doing their own things. And what it reminds me of is, as much as Weapons is a horror movie, and there are scares that we can talk about a little bit later, but to me, it is a character dissection. It's a character story about
Mhm.
really broken people facing an unfathomable event and trying to find meaning in the unknown.
Mhm.
And that is, sometimes there is no meaning. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes things don't just happen, and there's a reason they do. And that entire investigation they go through and the way they do it, because Gardner's character is the teacher and
Yeah.
also an alcoholic, and like everything coming out of these characters is them trying to find themselves in places that are dark enough already, and then just being thrust into even more darkness. And that's really interesting from not only like a storytelling perspective, a mystery perspective, but also like an acting perspective from all of them.
And I think one of the great things about the writing is that all these characters have a foot in this mystery, but coming from a different place. None of this is spoilers. You've already mentioned a couple things, but like Josh Brolin is a parent, Julia Gardner is the teacher, Alden Ehrenreich is a police officer, Austin Abrams is a local drug addict. They all have a very different level of investment in what happened and what it would mean to them to figure out what happened. And I think that made the mystery overall feel like especially full. Oh, and Benedict Wong, I loved his role too. He's the school principal. There's a I don't think I'll ever look at Benedict Wong the same way again. And Amy Madigan was just fantastic. I've got a good feeling that a lot of people are going to be talking about her incredible work coming out of this. And then, who's the young actor who played Alex? He was quite phenomenal too.
Carrie Christopher.
So good. So like really from I was about to say top to bottom, but as someone who like is a nerd and always says no small roles, the entire ensemble in this movie is pretty perfectly cast. It's also beautifully photographed. There are so many visuals in this where I think they would have worked just because of the strength of the story and the performances, but oh my, the reason why certain visuals are burned in my brain forever is because they're stunningly disturbing.
And there's a lot of darkness used here. So talking about the cinematography, weapons, a lot of shot at night in dark houses, in shadows, and yet it is used to the maximum effort. Like it's not one of those things where the shadows are hiding anything. It's not where they're trying to conceal effects that don't work or stuff like that. It's very, when you watch like a James Wan movie where he's able to manipulate the darkness to his benefit. It's like darkness bending in a way. There's a lot of that in weapons, and whether that's basements or whether that's houses with newspaper over the windows to block out the light, or again just midnight.
Mm-hmm.
It really is effectively shot, and it's so unsettling, like that kind of stuff where it's the quiet suburbia, when you're running around as a kid, like outside, if you lived in the suburbs and you're going house to house playing manhunt or something, and there is just that really eerie quietness, like there's no one around outside. And I think he plays on that really well. Like Kreger really
Mm-hmm.
takes that all into consideration and turns that into an element of the horror itself.
I was also really impressed by how well they convey the geography of the town and also the particular houses we spend the most amount of time in, because with a mystery like this, that is of the utmost importance. And nothing is ever going to make sense unless I know where I'm going. And I was pretty impressed by how quickly I kind of felt like I had a lay of the land and knew how the dots were connecting.
Yeah, it's a smart movie in the way it plays all those elements in, because not only is Brolin's character the parent, but he's also a contractor who's worked on all the
Mhm.
homes, and he has like a map of the town that, again, I won't say how it's used, but that right there is telling me that Zach Kreger is working, in his mind to think of all these things that another horror movie wouldn't.
Mhm.
Another horror movie would just have that kind of topography. You don't care about it. You just house here, house there, people running around, what it is. But the way that he thinks, well, how do I include a map? Well, how do I include directions? And yeah, like that's such a smart little gimmick he throws in.
The solving of the mystery is just so well done in terms of how realistic it feels. Like, I feel like something like this very easily could have, you know, wound up with with a little believability gap or something. But I think the way these characters go about trying to figure out what happens to the kids and how they are able to get to certain places, it made it made all the sense in the world to me. And I loved the human qualities that I saw in that pursuit, you know. So sometimes it was full steam ahead, even if it meant brushing aside logic and being sensible about the situation. Sometimes there's pause because someone's scared. Something about how all of these characters operated, even though they're all entirely different, felt really real and true to them.
And that's because I think that's because Kreger is a filmmaker and who is like in command of the tone of the film.
Hmm.
He's playing with so many elements because if we lay it all out, he's really putting a lot of effort into the dramatic elements of the film and doing character development, giving, like you just said, all these actors have time to flesh out their performances. They're not just one-off pawns in a horror movie. So
Hmm.
you actually get a feel of who these characters are and build them out. But it is a scary horror movie at times. It is a funny comedy at times. It
Hmm.
is action forward at times, which was a little surprising to me. So, for him to take all of those pieces of the puzzle and make them fit together, that's leading to exactly what you're saying. It's a movie that is trying a lot and somehow doing most of it pretty damn well.
Yeah. That ending only works if literally everything about this movie comes together precisely as it needs to. So the fact that I had such a big reaction to the tail end was a sure sign to me that this is top tier filmmaking across the board. And just to follow up on something you just said, because we don't see this very often, like what an achievement to have a large main ensemble and leave a viewer thinking every single one of those characters really mattered. There's always, I feel like not always, but more often than not, someone in the main ensemble gets shortchanged. That is truly not the case here with anybody.
I'll be really curious to hear the general reaction to this movie once it comes out because I surprisingly TikTok did not like Barbarian, or at least the people in my comments.
Really?
Yeah, oh,
Fascinating.
I'm getting so many anti-Barbarian takes. Yeah, that made me think though, okay, well how are these people going to receive weapons? And I think it's like you said before, you did not like Barbarian. And a lot of things that people are saying in my comments is like, well, it's a dumbass story that doesn't make sense. It's all about the ending where there's no real connection, blah, 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 just monsters, just incest, blah. So I think that you are going to get a lot more love for the detail that weapons goes into
Mhm.
because it does try to shore up all those loose ends and it tries
Yeah.
to really shave down and tighten those elements that people might not have liked about Barbarian. I think that especially is going to win over audiences way more. And for the again, loved Barbarian. This is great too. I am just it's my own internal thing with movies that go for that development and go for
Mhm.
all of that. And I think I was just looking for a little bit more lean into the horror in some moments, and that's it. Like that's it. This movie is horrifying a lot. I want to put that out
Yeah,
there.
it is.
I think there's many things we can't talk about because the horror happens connected to something that is we're not going to spoil, but
Mhm.
when it really does lean into, like I said, that shadow play, when it really does lean into creepy kiddo stuff, when it
Mhm.
leans into I don't know, the way everyone talked about the oh man, the cheese grater in
Oh.
Evil Dead
Oh,
Rise. I
yeah.
think Weapons has an equivalent to that
Yes,
we
it
are all
does.
going to be talking about and maybe even liking more.
Hmm. I am really curious to see how this movie plays the second time around for me. And I have a very, very good feeling it's going to get stronger and stronger because I think everything is laid out so well. I love bombastic, wild horror, but I think more often than not, if I had to choose, I would probably skew more character forward horror because, like, ultimately, that's what winds up leaving a bigger impression on me. And that's a big part of the reason why this mystery did in particular. But I can already Not that every movie has to be rewatchable, but personally, it is a quality that I tend to really love, and it winds up paving the way to a movie being something like an all time favorite. And the second I walked out of Weapons, I was already thinking about certain set pieces that I can't, as disturbing as they may be, I can't wait to go back to and over examine. I also think one other thing I want to emphasize is I think Zach Kreger does a pretty brilliant job explaining enough but not over explaining. Like, this to me is the perfect amount and kind of leaving some of the mystery for the audience to fill in on their own. I was hugely satisfied with what I got, but I am also having an absolute blast trying to put together certain pieces and come up with certain reasoning behind things that Kreger didn't spell out for me. I think this is a prime example of doing that and doing that extremely well.
Yeah, and it's the pace with which that leaks out. I think he did crack the code on how throughout the movie do I make you sit on the edge of your seat, give you information like an IV drop, but still have you captivated, like all those things. It's like
Mhm.
I don't want to give everything away early, so I want to make you wait for it. But I also know that, like, viewers need that. They need little breadcrumbs here and
Mhm.
there.
You do it
And
via excellent performances and also really well-crafted set pieces. Like, there's a bunch of scares where, like, I'm on the edge of my seat because of the way they're captured and how they're teed up.
and that's the thing. I mean, there are this is not a confirmation of what is in there or not, but I absolutely feel moments where so in the trailer, I mean, there is a moment in the trailer that's out there and someone bashes their head through a door and looks down, and it
Mhm.
has such like an Evil Dead feel to me, just
Yeah.
the way it's shot and the way it looks. But then you do see the more eerie stuff. Even the children running out of the houses that we've seen before, and the imagery and the gifs and all the material they sent us as critics to like get us
Yeah.
hyped early, that to me had like a witchcraft feel. So you're
Mhm.
going around with all these different subgenres of horror as well, and trying to figure out like where ultimately is this movie going to land, like where are we going to get to, and I am impressed because what you said before, where you're more character driven in that area, I absolutely am more of a take big swings and you'll win me over, even if it's a little sloppy
Yeah.
versus,
Mm.
giving me a character. It's a really well told character story, but like that's just again preference. That's just for me. So I think that's where we like differ, but that's where our talks align for ourselves. And
Yeah.
like when we're saying what we're saying, like yeah, we are just completely different. Where it actually works out great because again, you're more of the monocle and he's not even here, so you're filling in those shoes, and I'm still me.
I I will also say one more time, like, again, without spoiling anything, this movie surprised me at every turn. I wouldn't have guessed what it was about in a million years, and I was so incredibly satisfied with where this landed. When a movie builds a mystery in such a big way, you could still have great filmmaking before, but ultimately it all comes down to what really is going on. And I disturbing, yes. I loved what was really going on, and I love thinking about it now.
Where does this place right now for like your horror movies this year? Where is it slotting into?
Towards the top, there is a good chance that this is gonna wind up being in the top 10 too. I feel like my top 10 is getting quite bloated, which really excites me when we're only at the end of July, but I really do. I have a lot of movies that I love, love, love in 2025, and I'm especially happy with how many of them fall in the genre.
Yeah, I'm trying to like Ugly Stepsister I still have up there. I still have Hard Eyes a little higher, The Monkey. I think this is an easy contender for my top 10 towards the end of the year, but I'll have to
Mhm.
see a little more because like this is one of those like 3.5 out of fives or
Ah. Oh,
7
no,
point.
this is firm 4 or 5 out of 5 for me
Yeah.
with, over time, just because I don't know how many people here know, but I say this often. I have a very difficult people get mad at me all the time when I post, glowing reviews, and then in the end, I give it a 4 or 5. It's a personal thing. It's my own review scale. I have a very difficult time calling anything perfect. But years down the road, when I've watched a movie quite a few times, I've wanted to go back and change that score. Examples being Mad Max Fury Road and Inside Out. If I could go back and give those movies 5 out of 5s, I would. I might get there with Weapons eventually, but right now, I love Weapons. I love Ugly Stepsister. I love Final Destination Bloodlines. I love Together. I love Sinners. There's definitely other things that I'm forgetting right now, but I feel like I'm doing pretty well as a horror fan this year, and I'm
Oh no,
grateful for
we're
it.
eating good in the neighborhood, as they say. But that's insane to me that people would be mad at you for giving a glowing review and still ending at a 4.5. Because to me, it is at least on my scale, it's actually so hard to get to a 4.5, let
Yeah.
alone a 5. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, if I'm giving you a glowing review, it's probably just a 4.5. Like, even a 4. Like, to me, like if you're getting a glowing review for me, that's like pretty damn good. It's like a 4 out of 5.
I don't ever wanna make people mad, and again, to my core, I know it's my scale and my opinion, and nobody can touch that except me and myself, and that's it, but I will give them a little credit because I do understand the frustration with scoring something less than perfect when I've said nearly nothing to criticize it.
No, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, like,
I
a
know.
4.5 to me is gonna be pretty damn perfect, and, like, it's
Yeah.
not worth mentioning that 1 or 2 things that I didn't love when I just wanna gush about the movie in a
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Sorry, this is just a weird tangent of a conversation talking about ratings, but that's also interesting as critics, just how we kind of approach this
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, without a doubt.
I will say that one of my only 5 out of 5s I've given is for Mad Max Fury Road. One of the
Ha!
only ones I did actually let slip through the cracks, let's say, was a, Mad Max Fury
Oh,
Road,
I
and I
love
stand by
that.
that goddamn thing.
Yeah, that makes me very happy. It's a very good 5 out of 5.
Oh, it is so good. But no, it's good to hear just where Weapons ranks because I do agree it's been a really good year for horror.
Mhm.
Dangerous Animals, just like keeping naming things. So I think by the end of the year, this has a good shot to be in my top 10, unless we are blessed with even more brilliant stuff because we're not even in the thick of Halloween season yet.
I know. I'm, like, trying to think of what's right around the corner.
Oh, we
Feel
got
like
plenty. We got
there is
plenty
a good
still, and
deal. I know
we've
that
got
I know The Conjuring's coming up soon, right?
they just released the trailer today, Last Rites.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we got plenty on the way. So but hey, listen, it's good to know that Weapons actually delivers. And I think
Mhm.
from this podcast episode, you can hear that both myself and Perry are both agreeing for once that we've got a pretty good banger on our hands.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I'm so excited for this movie. I'm so excited for people to experience this movie in a packed house. I understand sometimes we can't get out to the movies. Sometimes streaming services are better just for wherever you're at in your day and whatnot. But this is a particular one where I would highly recommend going out of your way to, hopefully the movie has legs, but I would highly recommend going out of your way to see it opening weekend. Opening weekend at night, prime slot, making sure the theater is as full as possible because trust me when I tell you, you want to have that kind of communal experience when you watch Weapons and see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, I'm gonna double down on that very easy. You want to see this payoff specifically in a room full of people.
Yes.
Because even if you don't like it, you can look around and see everyone else reacting to it, and that'll be
Mm.
entertainment enough. So God, Weapons. Yeah. 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 I'm gonna go edit my review after this and make sure I don't want to adjust it maybe a number or two. We'll see. We'll
Ooh.
see.
Ooh.
But in any case, so let's wrap this up. You all know we love Weapons. Perry, where can the people find you on the interwebs to hear more about not only Weapons, but your entire ladies' night, everything that you do?
You can find me everywhere on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, a variety of P Nemiroffs and Perry Nemiroffs. I feel like you just search my name and you find me. And then, of course, please go watch Collider Ladies Night. There's so much Collider Ladies Night to watch. Probably by the time, Matt, you release this episode, the Collider Ladies Night After Dark panel from Comic Con will be up. And then so will the second one we did, which was, oh, like, I feel like that conversation is why I wanted to start the show. It was just the foursome we had were so perfect to get. Like, I take no credit. They are just all experts at talking about their craft. They were so kind to one another. I feel like they knew the exact type of conversation I was going for. It was Danielle Brooks, Jennifer Holland, Danielle Pinnock, and also Marissa Bodie. And whew, that foursome. That's a special one.
I mean, listen, they're all special when you're doing this
Mm.
stuff. It's hard not to like go up there in the Comic Con stage and just be like, this fucking rules.
Yeah, that one gave me all the chills.
Well, fantastic. And again, thank you for being here. But you can find me, Matt Donato, at Donato Bomb on Blue Sky, Letterboxd, Instagram. And I'm going to start plugging the TikTok more because we're playing around. We're doing it. So
Yeah.
listen, if the end is nigh for half of our industry, I might as well try to get on the other side while there's still time. I know. So, just ending on a real happy note there.
Oh
But no,
boy.
you can follow at Donato Bomb on all of those socials. Yeah, I've got plenty of horror stuff coming out because I'm basically running ship for reviews on Daily Dead, and we're just getting into horror season pretty soon. So there's going to be a lot to talk about. And then we're going to talk about on our live stream too. Once
Ooh,
again,
yes, we
every
will.
weekend, me and Perry on Perry's YouTube channel.
I can't wait.
Well, we're going to leave you all with that. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed what you listened to, we would love a comment. We would love a rating. They go a long way, and we have some very nice listeners who say nice things. So we appreciate you all. We appreciate you being here. And yeah, get on that weapons when it releases.